Yo, what's up, guys? I woke up a little late today, so we're getting started now. It is 7 o'clock for me and 8 o'clock in East Coast, 5 p.m. West Coast. Let's get going. It's like less than, let's see, I guess if you're on the East Coast, the SAT is going to be started for you in like 12 hours. So, yeah. Congratulations on getting to this point with whatever studies you've been doing over the last month or not, ever since finishing your AP tests. Now you have the June SAT, and welcome to the stream, everyone. Hey, what's up? What's up, Morbid? What's up, Dummy? Okay, so I was kind of rushing to get this started, so I didn't really set up my stream. Also, you can kind of tell that my voice is. I didn't do my vocal warm ups. I just woke up and started the stream. It's a mess. Okay, so let's get going. Let me first turn on the YouTube chat here, which okay, it looks broken, but it won't be broken in a second. All right, so that's chat. And then, is this thing? Okay, hang on, let me see. Is this correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. Let me see if this would work. Oh, hey, it still works. Nice. Okay, well, there's that. All right. The Python code that I vibe coded is still working apparently. All right, and then I need to actually fix up this screen at some point. Anyway, what's up, guys? Let me know what questions you guys have about the June SAT. Just keep chatting in chat, and then I'll get around to it. Right now, what I'm doing is just because I've started so late, or I just woke up so late. I'm just setting up my screen so that I can share the thing I want to share. For the first maybe 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes, I'm gonna go over more of a general topic of how to manage your time tomorrow when you're taking the test. So I'm gonna hit that topic first, and then I'll kind of switch. I'll attack any questions that you guys have. I guess I might as well throw a chat into a topic into chat just because no one's actually saying anything. So let me ask a quick question. Q&A. Last practice test score. Last practice test. Last WRW score. Aditya, I see your question. I'll come back to that in a second. Desired RW. Okay. Okay. So everyone, your last reading writing score and your target reading writing score. If you guys share that, if you have nothing else to ask and but you still want to just talk, just share that, okay? And that'll give me stuff to talk about, okay? Yeah, let me just quickly knock out some of these questions I'm already getting before I go into the little presentation that I wanted to do. But now that I think about it, I actually need to change I need to change some of this text. Okay, yeah. Bro, it's hang on. All right, all right. Before it gets too crazy, okay. Difference between has and had in grammar questions. The really easy and dumb thing is has is for present tense and had is for past tense. So, for example, if I say something like, "Hey, sorry, dude, I'm not hungry. I am not hungry." Okay. In that case, you would say, "I have already eaten." You would never say I had already eaten because you're supposed to be in the present tense. Now, but then you'd be like, Saul, but isn't has eaten or have eaten, isn't that actually called present perfect tense? Yeah, but what's the first word? The first word is present, right? So you would focus on I am not hungry right now. I will not go to lunch with you right now because I have eaten right now. All three of those work together in the past in the present tense. But then let's say one whole day passes, okay? And then, you know, and then people are talking like there's like a gossip going around. There's like some gossip going around. It's like, oh, did you hear? Like Saul and John aren't friends anymore. It's like, bro, why are Saul and John not friends anymore? And then it'd be like, oh, yeah, actually, John asked Saul to go out and get some lunch, but Saul said he wasn't hungry. Oh, shit. And then it's like, why though? Or like, wait, he wasn't hungry. Oh, shit. And then Saul said he wouldn't go to lunch with him. Dude, that's crazy. Why? Oh, because Saul had already eaten. Right? So you see how that slides on present tense, past tense? So in the present tense, you say Saul isn't hungry. Saul will not eat. Saul has already eaten, right? But just one day passes and all three of those change together. Saul wasn't hungry, Saul wouldn't eat, and Saul had already eaten, right? So they work together as a system, and the system is tense, and there's present tense and past tense. So, and then in the system of the present tense, there's like perfect words, which is for things that are already done, and then there's like futurity words, right? Like will, for things that will happen, or intention words like will or possibility words like can, right? But all of those can be shifted into the past, into would or could, or right. So there's like two systems. Okay, there's a present system and past system, and just the most important thing is you just have to see how they work together. So yeah, if you really dumb it down, when you say has done something or had done something, the difference is one is used with present tense words, the other is used with past tense words. All right. Actually, we're getting a lot of questions, so you know what? I'm gonna hold off on the the little presentation thing I was gonna do. Let me just catch up. Let me just see whatever question I see. I'm just gonna reply to for now. By the way, if you are joining in the Discord server, members, then just you can say hi in chat because I am paying attention to chat as well. In fact, I'll type hi in chat. All right. So yeah. Penguin, I see you. I you know what? There's actually just too much chat for me to go, scroll back up to the top, so I'm just going to see what I see. Is blank, comma, however, semicolon, blank typically wrong? No, it's not typically wrong. That is more of a logic question than a grammar question because it could go either way. So actually, that's a great question. Let me. I woke up so late that my setup is kind of all messed up. But let me see if this is work. Okay, it's not working. Okay, I need. I want to be able to share with you my screen, but for now, let me just do it verbally, okay? And maybe I'll take a break later on where I set everything up because I kind of rushed to start this stream on time. So just Ram is asking independent clause, comma, however, semicolon, independent clause, period. Okay? Independent clause, comma, however, semicolon. Now this explanation is gonna be totally ass unless I actually have an iPad. Give me a sec. All right. All right, I'm just gonna fix my screen a little. I know it's a little janky, but I'm kind of fixing as I go, just to just to just to just to be able to show you my screen. And also here, rolled pre. It's a little cramped. And then where's the other text? Let me fix this other text here. And then we're gonna answer the question about the however, comma, however, semicolon. Okay. It's kind of ugly, but whatever. Let's work with it. So, comma, however, semicolon, right? So let's just work with this, all right? Let's work with 3 very dumb sentences. So I like you. John, I like you. I should have picked a cooler name up front, but now I'm just stuck with John. Okay? John, I like you. Give me a sec. You're a nice guy. Wait, I'm thinking about. I can't think of it in English right now. I'm thinking in Korean. But what's the word for like? 약간 부담스러워. What is that? You're a little much. Okay, guys. When the sentence is this straightforward, I know you know where the however goes. Where does the however go? And everyone should say, over here, right? In front of you're a little much. Now, I have a hypothetical question. Okay? So that's actually the first problem right there. Call me Jeremy and Ram. It's interesting because visually and psychologically, I'm putting it before the your, right? But psychologically, some of you guys are actually putting it after the guy. Well, here's the thing, right? Can you put the however here? And some of you will have the right answer. Some of you will have the wrong answer. Okay? I'm gonna guess right now, maybe 7 out of 10 of you will have the right answer here. Okay, but 3 out of 10 of you will say no, and that's a huge problem. Okay, we got to fix this like before tomorrow. Guys, yes, you can have a comma here. Sorry, yes, you can have the however here. You just need to put a comma at the end. But if you could put it here with a comma, and you could put it here with a comma, right? Then I have a question. Is there any other place we can place that comma? Sorry, the however. Actually, yeah, we could place it other places. We could put it here, right? You could put it anywhere in the sentence where it doesn't break like an obviously connected phrase. Like you would never put it like between and a little, because the and little have like this very strong bond, and be very weird to put however in there. You could arguably stick it here. It would be awful. It would be just a horrible sentence, but you could stick it. You're a little, however much. You could stick it there. It would sound awful, but grammatically it would be wrong, right? But you can basically put a however anywhere as long as, okay, it is modifying the correct sentence. And that, I think, helps you to understand why it is totally okay to have a semicolon here, however here, and comma there. Now, let's flip it around. Oh, no, before maybe I'm rushing the explanation a little bit, but one last point, okay? It actually hears some of you guys. I mean, for 7 out of 10 of you guys who got this one correct, you're gonna already know what it sounds like. But for 3 out of 10 of you guys who don't know the answer, like who didn't get this correct, you have to hear it. Okay, so let me actually finish that off real quick. Guys, you could say, "I like you. You're a nice guy. However, you're a little much." You could also say, "I like you. You're a nice guy. You're, however, a little much." You can also say, "I like you, you're a nice guy, you're a little much, however," right? All of those are grammatically totally correct. They logically mean the same thing, and they are only slightly different in terms of emphasis, okay? All right, now that you've heard it, let's do the other way around. Despite your best intentions. Now, this is no longer an independent clause, but I don't really need an independent clause to answer Ram's question. Ram was asking, is it okay to have a comma, however, semicolon? And here's my answer. Is it okay to have a comma, however, semicolon? Wait, I didn't set this up correctly because it's my brain is not working. My bad. I actually set this up wrong. Okay. Okay, I have to erase all this. All right. Oops. You're a nice guy. Okay, there we go. So now I took the same 3 sentences, all right, and I reshuffled it. And sorry, I didn't do the calculations correctly when I was fixing it, but now you see it. You're a little much. I like you. You're a nice guy. Okay? Guys, can you put the comma afterwards. Yeah. Right? Oh, wait. I'm still confusing myself. I'm still confusing myself because no, I was right the first time. I'm being stupid. Oh my God, this is awful. All right. I'm being stupid. You have to stick this up top. Yeah. I My brain isn't working. Okay, hang on. Let me just do it without the screen because I'm actually getting stupider right now. All right. So, yes, you're allowed to say comma, however, semicolon. Was that actually the original question? Let me just double check. Yes, you are. As long as the opposition is between sentence one and sentence two, not between sentence two and sentence three, then you are allowed to say comma, however, semicolon. So let me create an opposition of sentence two and sentence one. I like you, however, you're a little much. And then now I need a new sentence, however, you're a little much. Um, you drain my energy. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Breakthrough. Oh my God, that was awful. Sorry guys. Took me a long time to figure that one out. Anyway, I like you, you're a little much, you drain my energy. Guys, yes, you could put the however over here in front, right? You could put it at the back, but in this case, right? Like it would be very obvious if you put the however in the front, but then what happens if you put the however in the back? I like you. You're a little much, however. You drain my energy. Okay? And now we have an absolutely correct use of the comma and the however and the semicolon. All right. That took me a long time to fix. My bad. Anyway, done with that question. Unless anyone has follow-up questions on that one. Now, earlier I saw Danny from the course. Danny from the course is asking about test day prep tips. So just for test day prep tips, the main thing that I think you can do, especially if this is your first test, okay, is to just have everything in the checklist, in the College Board checklist, on your desk and ready to go so that you are ready to leave in the morning. Because the thing about test day is that you are looking at a couple variables, which is one, maybe you're going to a test center that you have never gone to before, right? Two, maybe you haven't woken up at 7 o'clock or 7:30 in a long time, okay? And three, you're gonna physically be bringing things that you've never, like that combination of things, it's not something you've been doing every single day. So that's a lot of variables, right? The time, the materials, and like the location are all variables and they may be changed. Now, if you're lucky, then you're actually going to the same test center and you've also been waking up at the same time on Saturdays. And you're kind of used to taking the SAT, so you actually already have all the you know what you need to pack and all that stuff. If that's you, then this tip doesn't really matter for you. But for anyone who's like not really like if any of these variables are sort of off, just reduce the stress and have all your materials printed out in advance, have it all collected in advance on your desk. Even have like your clothes just ready and packed and folded on your desk or somewhere in your room so that you can just wake up and you don't have to think about anything in that sort of morning fog, right? You just go to your desk and just throw it all on and then pack it up and go out to the test center. So that's my first tip for test day or the day before test day. And the main thing, I think the main overarching theme is to not reduce your confidence. So right now, if you start memorizing like 1,000 words, you're actually going to harm your confidence because you are putting yourself in a position where you are no longer sufficient, right? You're like, oh, 1,000 words, but I only know 200, so I have to learn 800 words. What that does is it actually depresses your confidence, and that's normally a good thing when you are in studying mode. When you're in studying mode, you actually want to depress your confidence because you're going to delay that gratification, and finally, when you have 1,000 words memorized, you're going to be like, oh God, I feel awesome, right? So that's a normal part of growing, to actually harm your confidence kind of intentionally. But right now is not the time to do that. Like, it's the same for like taking like, I don't know, cramming like another practice test. Like cramming another practice test right now, it's less black and white compared to like learning 1,000 words. But there's a high risk that when you take a practice test now, depending on your personality, especially if you have like a high sort of neuroticism, that practice test isn't really practice. All it is just validation of your worst fears, and you gotta stop doing that. Like, stop doing things that drops your confidence, right? And why are you validating your worst fears? Why are you giving yourself the opportunity to make like more mistakes? If you're a sort of neurotic person, now some other people are actually, this is kind of more of a gray area example. Some other people are not that neurotic, and so you can kind of just focus on, all right, I'm just going to take another practice test and then just analyze the answers. So you have to know yourself, right? Are you more, are you able to keep your confidence from dropping? Then yeah, you can permit yourself to take a practice test. But otherwise, at this point, just lock in, just review your old tests, right? And review your notes and just kind of lock in the habits that you've been developing over the last month or whatever. Because that is going to boost your confidence more than just taking a new practice test. So yeah, the general overarching theme is just do whatever increases your confidence, and just whatever might harm your confidence, stop. Don't do it. Okay? Danny, if you have any other further, like more detailed questions on that, I can follow up. Now I'm back to YouTube chat. YouTube chat, I'm seeing how should you tackle hard vocab questions if you don't know what the words mean? So the thing is that there's basically two phases in a vocab question. Okay, there's the left-hand side phase and the right-hand side phase. So the left-hand side phase is reading the passage and coming up with a valid answer. Okay? So let me see. This one will be better with an actual example in front. So let me actually just pull up a quick example. Okay? Database. I'll share my screen in just a moment. I'm kind of just going through, like, I need to actually set it up right now. Okay. Is it working? No, it's broken, but I'll fix it. Give me a sec. That's not it. Okay. My OBS has been really buggy recently, so sorry for the jankiness. What is this called? Question database. There we go. Maybe this is like overly difficult, so let's do something that's less. Maybe a little less okay, less difficult. Here we go. All right. So the question is, what do you do when you don't know the vocabulary? Well, I'm saying that there's actually a left-hand side phase and a right-hand side phase. Okay. In my course, I talk about this all the time. You predict on the left side and you match on the right side, and then you use process of elimination if and only if you can't match. Okay. So let's talk about the left-hand side phase. Guys, if you don't know the vocabulary, okay, which, I'll just show it to you real quick. Boom. All right. I saw some words. You might not know some of those words, right? I would say, hang on. I'm trying to stay away from looking at those words. But you might not know some of those words, right? But the first test that you need to pass is, can you even have the right idea here, right? Because if you have the wrong idea here, then it doesn't even matter. Like, you're just going to get lucky if you get it right? So you need to figure out what we're trying to do. So first, I'm seeing that fine art and fashion are two different ideas here. And so we have artists, that connects to fashion, that connects to the fine art, and designers, that connects to the fashion, right? But here we have a contrast where artists are creating timeless works and the designers are creating purchasable goods. Okay. So critics have asserted that fine art and fashion are opposed to each other, right? Opposed to each other. So they rarely come together. They rarely come together in a world where they are opposed to each other. And this artist and designer, Okuma, challenges the critic's view because you can see her in the museum, her work in the museum, but you can also purchase her work online. You can combine the two worlds. Okay, so now I have a prediction. My prediction is rarely combine, rarely mingle. That's a good prediction. I also said rarely come together. Okay, all three of those words and more words could be a correct prediction. Now here's my answer to your question. What do you do when you don't know some of those words on the right side of the page? Okay, so here you should know the correct answer, okay? Because you have a match right now. You said combine, mingle, come together. So everyone should see dog right away. Because intersect is not a hard word. I mean, if you took 9th grade geometry, you should know intersect, right? So you should be able to match it. But that's not all of the cases. Sometimes, converge isn't that much harder, but let's pretend. Maybe collide isn't harder, but maybe I can imagine why some of you might think it's extreme. Let's. You know what? I have morning brain, so I'm not gonna think of it. I'm just gonna say insert hard word here, okay? And you know what? This is good enough for my. This really is good enough for my illustration here. Guys, if it's when you see a word that you don't know, you kind of have to treat it like a blank, right? You don't know that word. So it could start with an A, it could start with a Z, it could start with a D. It doesn't matter. You still don't know the word, right? So it's no different functionally than this little blank here, insert hard word here, right? And if you don't know this word, which you might not, then you would have insert hard word here, right? Because you don't know the word. I mean, you might have a vibe from the word, but you don't really know the word, right? So in that case, what are you supposed to do? You have the correct prediction. You know it's supposed to be come together, mingle. What was the other one we said? Combine. Okay? Combine. So what you do is minimize time waste. Just eliminate anything that isn't combine, mingle, and come together. Prevail. Is that come together? No. Diverge. Is that come together? No. Do I know what B means? No. Do I know what D means? No. I will not waste time. I'm just going to choose one. So 50-50. And whichever one you choose, just go with it. You were unlucky. Okay? But if you happened to know what B meant, that's succumb. When you succumb to temptation, when you succumb to someone's pleading, that means to surrender to it, right? To weaken yourself to it. All right, then you can actually eliminate that one as well because that's not related to come together. So then you just get lucky by choosing dog because you eliminated A, B, and C. Okay? So be purely statistical when it comes to these things. The biggest trap with not knowing a word is that it turns off your rational brain and turns on your panic brain. And the emotional part of your brain wants to just like panic that you don't know the word. But I want you to just neutralize that panic by just turning it into a fraction, right? Oh, I don't know B, I don't know D. That's 2 answer choices, and I'm going to choose one of them. I'm going to have a 50% chance that I'm going to get it correct. Just turn it into a fractions question and just move on, all right? Based on your prediction. Based on the eliminations from your prediction. All right. Hopefully that helps. Okay, I'm not sure okay, good luck, Ram, tomorrow. Let's see. Do we have any other questions right now? I'm going to scroll up a little bit and see what's happening. Mir says something that I don't fully understand. And Dummy says vocab questions, which was the last question that I just answered. Right now, Morbid is saying time management. And Jeremy is saying blurb or just the end segment? Oh, it's not you mean the passage, right? Okay. When we say blurb, in test taking, when we talk about blurb, we're talking about the part before the passage. For Jeremy, I'll just do a quick answer, okay? The quick answer for Call Me Jeremy is the way that I solve data questions is going to be pretty different from the way that you're solving data questions. I don't encourage you to radically change, okay, your approach, but I will tell you how I solve it. You might be surprised. For data questions, what's a data question? We have like France and United States, manufacturing. What happened to my France and United States? Okay. Yeah. So, oops, wrong page, over here. So over here, guys, for data questions, probably the way you guys are reading it is you're probably starting maybe around here, right? Maybe you start at this and then you realize you don't know what this means, so you go back to this and then you look at this transition, and then you have to read back, and then you have to read until this part. Okay, I honestly don't like that approach, right? This can be seen. Wait, what's this? This transition happened at different rates. Wait, what's this transition? This whole thing happened, right? And now you're reading the entire passage, but you're just reading it backwards. Guys, it's fine. If this is what you're used to doing, then just keep doing it for tomorrow. But to answer your question, the first thing that I look at is I look at the title. Okay? I look at the title. Sorry, this little Notion popover is blocking the view, but I look at employment by sector in France and the United States, 1800 to 2012. And then I look at the table, and I look at France. I look for France, and then I see France. Oh, France is in the first three columns. I look for the United States. Oh, that's in the next three columns. And then I see by sector, and I see agriculture, manufacturing services, right? And then I look for employment, which is over here. This is employment, and then this is change over time. Okay, and so I do all of that in the first, I guess probably that takes me 10 seconds to 15 seconds, right? That takes me like 10 to 15 seconds. I might do a quick thing. The rows in the table may not add up to 100 due to rounding. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then actually, if I read this, then that's going to add another 5 to 10 seconds. Because then I'm going to see, oh, 64, 22, 14 is 100. And then I see, oh, this is like a pie chart, right? We have like 8 pie charts right now. We have an 1800 France pie chart. We have an 1800 US pie chart, right? And these are all adding up to mostly 100. Okay, so that would actually add like another 5-10 seconds. But now I fully understand the table, and then I read, and I read from the top. But when you read from the top, usually you can read pretty quickly because you know what the table is talking about. So then you read pretty quickly, and then you slow down by the time it gets to claim, and then you have a prediction in your head. The prediction comes from the data, and then you match. So that's the way that I solve data questions. Mithiel is asking if I could do hard questions for Module 2 math. Sorry, I can't do math today because I'm just not good at math. So you might need to switch to, you might need someone else to help you with the math. Morbid was talking about, I actually missed Morbid's, question earlier, but Morbid was asking about time management, and I did want to talk about time management, so let me actually pull up a slide real quick. Oops, I keep switching to the wrong. Okay, there we go. So this cheat sheet comes from my my predict and match course. This cheat sheet works for time management if you use the strategies that I show. Like basically, guys, if you've watched me solve Blue Book 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? Because those streams are out there. You can watch me solve it for the first time in my life. You'll notice that the way that I take the test is probably different from the way that you took the test before, okay? When I take the test, when you guys take the test, you usually skim the left side of the page very quickly, okay? And the reason you're doing that is because you're afraid you're going to waste time reading a bunch of sentences that you don't even really understand, and they might not even come out in the question, right? So you skim the left side of the page, and maybe a long passage will take you something like 15 to 20 seconds. But for me, I don't skim the left side of the page. I actually slow down on the left side of the page, and it takes me 45 seconds to read. And that will be probably the most noticeable difference between you and me if you're actually paying attention to the clock while I'm solving those questions, right? So how do you manage time in a world where you don't skim the passage? Well, you have to earn that time back, right? So you not only have to, but you actually do save time on the right side of the page. You save time on the match. So big picture, okay? The big picture is I build out my map of the passage, okay? I build out my map of the passage. That takes me anywhere between 15 and 90 seconds, depending how long the passage is. Then I make my prediction. That takes me anywhere between 1 to 15 seconds, depending on how hard the question is. Then I make my match, and match no matter how long the answer choices are. It takes me 15 seconds or less. Okay? And then I make my final decision. If I have a perfect match, I choose that answer choice and I no longer think about this question. That takes 1 second. If it's a partial match, then I defend all parts of my answer choice. That takes me 5 to 10 seconds. And then I either skip and return, or I do process elimination once per question. That takes me 15 to 60 seconds. But the way that I make my time back, that I get my time back, is that on most questions, I am spending less than 10 seconds on the right side of the page. So you guys are brute forcing the process elimination on A and B and C and D on every single question. For me, for like 9 out of 10 questions, maybe not 9 out of 10, more like 8, like 5 out of 10 questions, I find my perfect match in like less than, right? I find my perfect match in like 10 seconds or less, right? And then for the other 5 out of 10 questions, maybe 3 of them I have to do a partial match, so it takes me like 20 seconds. And then for 2 of them I have to do process elimination, so those could take me like up to a minute on the right side of the page. But I earn all that time back that I spent on building on my map of the passage by just avoiding process elimination, okay? I only do process elimination as a last resort. Okay, so that's the high-level picture. So how do you manage time? Guys, the main thing is if you are aiming for a 750, you need to know how many questions you can sacrifice and still get a 750. If you are aiming for a 700, you need to know how many questions you can sacrifice and still get a 700. And if you're aiming for a 650, you need to know how many questions you can sacrifice and still get a 650. Guys, do you know how many questions you can sacrifice? If you don't, you should go into my practice. Here, I'll do it even. mypractice.collegeboard.org, and you should log in, right? And you should go find out, like count up the number of questions, right, that you can get wrong. Now, it's not a perfect number because it depends on which questions you get wrong, okay? But you should have a general sense of how many questions you can get wrong and still get your target score. Danny, you're saying that some questions are worth more? Yeah, some questions are worth more. But this is where the sacrifices comes into play. You're not going to sacrifice the easiest questions. And if you're not going to sacrifice the easiest questions, then you are actually you're actually sacrificing the questions that make the least impact on your score. So if you are an 800, if you are aiming for a 750, okay? You can sacrifice the hardest, give me a sec. You can sacrifice the hardest 5 questions on the test and get a 750. Now, that number may actually be a little too aggressive, so you might want to round down to 4. You can sacrifice the hardest 4 questions and still get a 750, assuming that you are highly confident on all the other questions, the 50 other questions, okay? You are sure that you have the other 50 questions correct. If you are aiming for a 700, you can get 10 questions wrong. And if you are aiming for a 650, you can get like 17 questions wrong. These are rough estimates. The thing is that if you think about it that way, you actually can sacrifice quite a lot of questions. The main thing is to be certain of the other questions. And I think it helps to understand how the SAT is scored. Okay, the best way I have to explain how the SAT is scored is out of those 54 questions, imagine that they are sort of like ranked, and every single question has a difficulty rating that corresponds to a score level. So one of those questions in the 2 modules, probably module 2, one of those questions is rated 800 score. One of those questions is rated 790. One of those questions are rated 780. One of those questions are rated 60 and 50 and 40 and 30 and 20 and 700. One of those questions is rated 690, 680, 670, blah, 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 and so on and so forth, right? Now, if you are getting every question correct, but the only question that you get wrong is rated like 600, it's like an easy question, then obviously you're not going to get a 790. You're going to get like a 770 because, statistically it's weird that you are getting a question that is rated 600 wrong. Conversely, if you're getting every single question right, but the one question that you get wrong is rated 800, then you're obviously going to get a 790, right? So in the first case, one question wrong leads to you getting a 770. In the second case, one question wrong leads to you getting a 790. That is a huge difference. 770 versus 790 for one question wrong. And this should give you the insight that actually you must sacrifice the hardest questions to prioritize the easy and medium questions. The easy, medium, and the harder questions, but not the hardest questions, right? You must prioritize the ones that that are at or below your target score level. So if you are aiming at a 750, you should be aiming to get every question that is rated from 750 down, and you should sacrifice the 760 question, the 780 question, the 790 question, and the 800 question. You should sacrifice those 4 questions on purpose. How do you sacrifice? You sacrifice by reading the passage, making a prediction, and in the process of making a prediction, you're going to be like, holy crap, this is a really hard question. I can't figure out the prediction. You look for a match, holy crap, I don't have a match because it's a really hard question. And then you do process of elimination once. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go into A, just thoroughly double check A once, B, thoroughly check B once, C, thoroughly check C once, and D, thoroughly check D once, and you're done, right? At that point, you haven't spent that much time. You spent less than 2 minutes. You're not going to do the whole going in circles thing where you go, oh, wait, but look at this part of D. It looks kind of similar to this part of B. And they're like similar, right? Aren't they synonyms? You know, it's like, oh, look at the part of C and look at this part of D. And it's like, oh, they're like antonyms, I think. You know, and like that whole fucking nonsense of just like comparing the answer choices, you're going to completely skip that. And if you skip that, what happens is you have less than 2 minutes. You spent less than 2 minutes on that question. Okay? And now you know what the difficulty of this question is. Because you went through all 4 answer choices once and you can feel it in your little slimy gut. You can feel that this is probably a question that is beyond your target score. So what are you going to do? You're going to sacrifice it. You're going to be like, okay, I could only eliminate one of these answer choices, or I could only eliminate 2 of these answer choices. Whatever. I'm going to guess. I'm going to move on. Okay? Now, you don't have to totally sacrifice it. You can still put a bookmark on it and come back to it at the end. But if you do this enough times, you're going to be surprised at how much time you have at the end of the module, even on module 2, because you are gleefully intentionally sacrificing the questions that are harder than your level, that are above your target score range, and that will save you time. So now you can maximize your time, not minimize, but maximize your time on all the questions that you should be getting right. I have some personal / public news. Guys, the Premier League soccer team, I'm going to say soccer because I'm American. The Premier League soccer team, that it actually feels weird to say Premier League and soccer in the same sentence. Okay, I'm going to say football. The Premier League football team that I support is Tottenham Hotspur, and they just fired the manager, the coach, okay? The head coach. I'm devastated. But I'm going to explain the rationale for why they fired the head coach, or in the UK they call it the manager. The reason he got fired is his team, our team, Tottenham Hotspur, okay? Usually we should be ranking in the top 6, I guess, is the general expectation, okay? We were losing matches or games in American English, right? We were losing our games against teams that were ranked, 15 and 16 and 17 and 18 and 19. It was actually embarrassing. Not the 20th, thank God. But we were losing matches against lower ranked teams. So even though we absolutely murdered Man United with RIP Manchester United, but like even though we even took Manchester City to town, we just like had these amazing highs, okay? We were just not consistent with knocking out the lower ranked teams. How am I connecting this back to the SAT? I think you see the analogy, right? You do not get credit, guys, for getting the 800 rated question right if you are getting the 600 rated question wrong. You must prioritize all of the easier questions that are beneath your target score range so that the algorithm can decide that you deserve your target score. You must sacrifice the questions that are above that range, okay? So once you do that, you will have extra time at the very end because you're actually wasting a lot of time right now on the hardest questions. You're wasting a lot of time right now on the hardest questions. And so just by skipping, like guessing 50-50 on some of those hard questions and skipping it and coming back and finishing the 27 questions first, you'll realize that you actually have like 3 minutes left. And then you can go back Let's say that you bookmarked 5 questions. When you bookmark 5 questions, you should prioritize the ones that didn't feel like it's going to take you 2 more minutes to solve. Okay? So don't go for the hardest one. Okay? If you have 3 minutes left and you have 5 questions left, do not equally distribute them. Okay? 3 minutes is not going to be enough to go over 5 questions. So you're going to sacrifice the hardest questions anyway, right? So just prioritize the medium and medium high difficulty questions, right? Just use those 3 minutes, intentionally use it on the least difficult of those 5. Like maybe you'll be able to knock out 2 of them, maybe you'll be able to knock out 3 out of the 5. But yeah, just don't sweat the last 2. You've already given it a 50-50 guess. It's fine. Don't sweat it. Okay? So don't try to like divide it up into 40 seconds, 40 seconds, 40 seconds, 40 seconds, 40 seconds. It's like, it's just gonna make you not get this first one right because you're rushing now. Okay? Constantly prioritize the easier ones. All right, I kind of rambled because I ended up sticking in the Tottenham Hotspur analogy, but long story short, guys, sacrifice the hardest questions and focus on the questions that are at or below your target score range. And the way to make this feel real is go to the way to make this feel real is to go to the Blue Book app, okay? And look up your last practice test. And let's say that your target score is 650, okay? So I'm actually kind of flipping my audience right now, but let's say that your target score is 650, and you actually got like 620. So you got something like 20 questions wrong, okay? Out of those 20 questions, look at which count, like maybe 5, okay? Look for the 5 questions out of those 20 that you really believe you could get correct as long as you calm yourself down and look at those 5 questions with a little bit more peace of mind, right? Which 5 questions could you recover? And then look at the answer key, get the correct answers for those 5 questions, and your original 20 question. 54 minus 20 is 34. So your original 34 questions that you got right, plus these 5 questions that you didn't get right that you should have gotten right because they're the easier ones out of those 20 that you got wrong, right? And then plug the answers back in to the Blue Book. So now what you're doing is you're measuring what score you will get if you get 39 questions right instead of 34 questions right. Okay? If you do this, I think you'll be surprised that actually the easier questions have a big impact on your score. So then you might get your target, you might get 660 for getting those 5 questions right. And by doing this, you'll be able to confirm that actually 660 is within, like 650 is within reach. You just need to prioritize the easier questions. And this will give you a lot of confidence and focus going into the test tomorrow. Did you guys understand that? I'm like, it's really early in the morning for me right now, so I don't know if that explanation like landed. But basically, take your previous practice test, okay? Find the recoverable questions and plug the answers back in. Like take the practice test again in Blue Book and plug those recoverable questions back in as correct, and then see what score you get. I believe that that's going to give you a big confidence boost going into tomorrow's test. And Danny, earlier, Danny from the course, earlier you said something I just didn't reply, but yes, the way that it works is it actually helps you increase not just time, but peace of mind so that you can get the easier questions all correct. Ram, just a quick psychological tip. Instead of saying, oh, I got a 790 last time, I'm worried I can't get it again. Because that's a true statement, right? Probabilistically, you have no idea. It is a possibility that you will not get it again, and you can repeat that true statement to yourself. But if you repeat that true statement to yourself, oh, maybe I will not get 790 again. What does that do for your confidence? Does it increase your confidence or does it decrease your confidence? Well, don't do that, okay? Just flip that confidence. Just flip that statement and say say the opposite true statement, which is, I got a 790 on math last time, so I think I can get a 790 on math again this time. Yeah, you've done it once before. Why can't you do it again? That's also a true statement. But this time, what does this true statement do for your confidence? Whatever, guys, there's a lot of practical tips about how to manage yourself on the day before the test. You know, like sleep well or eat well or whatever. Okay. Listen to music. This is maybe less common, but like, you know, just do something enjoyable. Go play a game or hang out with some friends, right? Touch grass, whatever, right? There's a lot of advice. There's a lot of advice that anyone can throw out at you, and you know what? They're all correct and they're all incorrect. Like, the only law there is to not hurt your confidence right now. Okay? And so any piece of advice that you hear about what you're supposed to do between tonight and tomorrow morning, just filter it. Like, ask yourself, would that actually increase my confidence or not? If it won't, just forget it, okay? Maybe save it for some other day. But you don't have to do it right now. The only law is keeping your confidence intact. How much longer is this stream going to last, Danny? I was actually going to finish 15 minutes ago, but I'm actually so I don't know. I actually, people are going to expect me soonish, but let me actually quickly reply to some messages real quick so that I can coordinate. All right, so let's actually cut it off in 15 minutes. I will stream until 8:30 a.m. my time. That's 9:30 p.m. Eastern and 6:30 p.m. Pacific. When to choose between whom and who? When to choose between whom and who? Hey, I have a quick tip, okay? And this is something I need to do, like Instagram Reels. I need to do it. I'm just so overwhelmed right now with everything. Guys, my course, I like poured blood and sweat and tears and and electrolytes and spit into my course. It was so much freaking work. And I'm still not, I mean, I have more to do, but anyway, here's the really, really quick way to check whether to use whom and who. Guys, I want you to listen to this set of pronouns. Okay? I versus me. He versus him. Who versus whom. Guys, what letter do you notice in the second of each of the sets? I'm going to say this one more time. I versus me. Oh, I actually missed one more word. Okay, actually, there's actually one more. I versus me, he versus him, they versus them, who versus whom. What's the letter that you notice in the second of each of the sets? It's M. The M's are all on the same team. Which team? It's the object team. What is the object team? I have a question. Is this grammatically correct? You love I? You love I? No, that is not grammatically correct. You love me, right? Well, is this grammatically correct? You love who? No, that's not grammatically correct. You love whom? You use the M whenever it's in the object position of that sentence, not the subject position of that sentence. For example, with relative clauses, the person who I most admire is grammatically incorrect because I most admire who? No, I most admire him. I most admire them. I most admire whom. The person whom I most admire is Daniel Levy. I hope you feel the sarcasm. Okay, if you don't know who Daniel Levy is, it's okay. It's a Tottenham joke. It's a Spurs joke. I'm devastated. Anyway. It was not good news. I'm not happy about what happened. Yes, so you wouldn't say whom asked, you would say who asked. Whenever you're confused by a who versus whom, just replace the who with a he or they or I or whatever, and replace the whom with a him or them or him, and that will give you the general sense of which direction you're supposed to go. Okay, so if you give me an example, I can just quickly flip it out, and you'll be able to see the difference. Okay. Aditya, that is a valid question. You actually, yeah, okay, I got it. All right, so what should you do? And since we're talking about who versus whom, let me quickly just follow up. Who versus whom did you ask is technically the correct way to ask that question. Whom did you ask? I know that it's very stuffy, but right now, if you have at least one or two nerd friends in your school, like you can just start talking like that, and it will train you to identify the correct pattern. So, next time your friend has a party, instead of saying, "Hey, who did you invite?" say, "Whom did you invite, friend?" Just say, "Whom did you invite?" and that would be how you build up the muscles for this. Okay. Kids, yeah, your entire generation, Danny, speaks in brain rot. So I don't really. But you could ironically wear the grammatically correct badge all the time. So yeah, you have to know your audience. You can't do it. You have to know your audience. Back honestly, like I grew up in a relatively rough neighborhood. Like like you got to know your audience. You're not gonna talk like that to everybody. It was. I don't think it would be ludicrous to imagine, but there are some places in America where if you say whom did you invite, you would actually end up in a physical fist fight. So, and it's for real. Like I got into a lot of fights when I was a kid, and lost most of them. But but dude, you just America, land of freedom, right? But that's why you want a couple good nerdy friends. You wanna use the whom on your nerdy friends. Let's see. Yeah, I think you actually should put the stress on whom just to be more ridiculous about it because people really don't use whom anymore. But anyway, this is honestly not really that relevant for the SAT because the whom isn't that important for the SAT. It's more important for like kind of advanced English, but the SAT has really been dumbed down over the last decade. It's not anywhere near as hard as it used to be. So, hey, take what you can, If they're giving it away, like the grammar used to be way harder. So if they're letting you off, take it. It's like looking like not a lot of people have more questions. So guys, just a reminder, I'm gonna be here for 9 more minutes, and I'm gonna head out. So if you're feeling awkward, just uh, stop. Just tell me. What was your last reading writing score? What's your target reading writing score? And let me assess you. Let me give you tips. Penguin in the course is saying you liked the paper test way more. Yeah, I like the paper test more, and I believe in the next 5 years we're gonna see. Well, actually, that's the crazy thing, though. AI will rapidly evolve, but I do believe that the experience of reading and writing on paper is something that I don't know, man. Like every time I try to make a prediction, I just keep thinking about how AI is radically changing things, and so it's just like hard for me to make a prediction. But anyway, there's a sentiment, there's a movement right now where like university professors, college professors, they're requiring more and more paper tests just because of all the cheating. So, and I do believe, even apart from cheating, I do believe that when you're like looking at paper and writing on paper, I do believe it does different things in your head than just typing. So you know, paper tests. Obviously, the SAT is not going to be paper, but I do think you know what? There's no thoughts. I have no thoughts. I just miss paper. I miss paper. That's what I wanted to say. That's it. That's the whole profound, deep point that I want to make. I miss paper. Um, Lucky says 680, target 750, 710. Okay, yeah. Lucky, did you do the thing about the recoverable questions? Did you hear the thing about the recoverable questions? I said that you should go into your Blue Book app, and if you go back to the one with the 710. I think maybe you might want to knock your target score down to 730 for tomorrow, just because maybe maybe keeping a 750 score as your target is just going to harm your confidence. So knock it down to 730, and then go back to that 710 practice test on Blue Book, and if you got 710, but maybe maybe you spent too much time on a couple hard questions, right? Um, Maybe you have, hang on, let me think. That means you probably got a couple of the easy questions wrong. So you'll probably have around 8 to 10 questions that you got wrong. So let's just say you got 10 questions wrong, okay? If you got 10 questions wrong, I want you to identify 2 questions, maybe 3 just to be safe, 3 questions that you could recover, 3 questions that are on the easier side. Oh, these are real tests. Okay, that's still good. But then I'm guessing you got like a 700 or something on a practice test recently, right? So let's say you got 10 questions wrong. You got 10 questions wrong. You got a 700. Go back to the Blue Book practice test with identify 3 questions out of those 10 that you got wrong that you could reasonably, feasibly, realistically recover, as long as you prioritize the easy questions and you don't prioritize the hard questions. make that you are consistent, okay, with the easier questions. Which 3 questions are they, right? And then go back and plug in the answers to the same answers that you plugged in the first time, but then fix just those 3 questions and see what score you get. I think that will give you a confidence boost for tomorrow. Jaden got a 1490 on practice test 4 and 7 with 720 on reading and writing. Short answer, Jaden, is yes. Earlier, there was an interaction I had with somebody on chat. That person was saying, I'm afraid I won't get 720 again. He actually said 790 on math, but whatever, right? In your case, you have 2 true statements that you can make right now. You can say, I'm afraid I won't get 720 again, right? You can also say, I got 720 once before, I can get it again, right? Both of those are true statements because these are about the future, right? Both possibilities exist. So why would you say the true statement that increases fear and uncertainty and increases the likelihood of you panicking tomorrow? Why not say the other true statement that makes you feel more confident in yourself? So, yeah, you can get it. 720, reading, writing, you can do it again. 770, math, you can do it again. You've done it once, you can do it again. And there are 2 possibilities, okay? You either did it again or you didn't. Instead of worrying about the worst possibility, just create the positive possibility tomorrow. Make it happen. All right, that's what I want to say. I'm a little bit clumsy with my words because it is still very early in the morning. I have 2 more minutes, so let me just quickly do rapid fire answers. Why not is saying, how can I be focused? Reading with details, but at the same time, not spending too much time. Focus on identifying transitions. Don't focus on understanding every single word. Focus on just like what the big transitions are in the passage. Nevis is saying, for those harder, more dense reading questions that are full of scientific vocabulary or old English, how do you keep track of the information? Actually, this is the same thing. There's other techniques, but right now, like literally, if, like Friday night, Saturday morning, you don't have a lot of time. When you read the passage, especially the first time you're reading the passage, focus on the transitions, okay? Don't focus on trying to figure out every single word, okay? By focusing on all the words, you actually lose track of the big picture. So, like, oh, this is the experiment. This is the rationale for the experiment, as in like the background, like the reason that they're doing the experiment. Oh, this is the hypothesis, and they're narrowing on the dependent variable here. And oh, this is just the controls, and then oh, this is the right. Just figure out what the transitions are. Okay, don't focus on all like the specific terminology or whatever. And then let me see. Practice test most similar to the real. They're all kind of really similar, but the one thing that I really have to warn you guys about, Miso, is the SAT. The College Board is experimenting with kind of like unique wordings. Like they are the questions are worded in a different way sometimes. So when that happens on the real test, okay, don't be too surprised. Just look at the question and answer the question, okay? Because they are changing the wording of some of the question types on the real test, and that they're not showing that, and these changes are not reflected on the Blue Book, which is kind of annoying to me. I really dislike the way that the College Board is doing this, but anyway, make sure to always read the question because they are changing the wording of the questions. Audrey is saying Blue Book practice test 650, 690. Then when you stop relying on dude, I'm super old school about this. I honestly think you should be able to answer all of the questions, all of the math questions without a calculator. When I got my 800 when I was in high school, I did it with no calculator. Um, Boom! Booyah! Anyway, you effing Gen Zs, like whatever. Dummy says, how should you get into the zone before taking the test? And earlier somebody asked, what should you do in the 20 minutes in the car? I honestly think increasing familiarity is better. So work with things that are familiar, reread old notes, okay? Like reread the notes. Like in my classes, I tell kids to write an index card with all their main, like a cheat sheet of all their main strategies. And when you have that on the way there, obviously you can't use it in test. You're gonna you're gonna get kicked out. But on the way there, if you have this cheat sheet, it just helps you to just calm yourself. Not because of what it says per se, but because of the fact that when you wrote it out, you were in a sort of meditative state where you were sort of sorting out all of the best strategies that really worked for you. So when you read the thing that you wrote, it kind of unlocks those feelings again. Like it's like when you're like when you had your childhood in India and there were certain scents in India, right? And then you go back to your hometown and you smell those scents and it unlocks those memories, right? It's the same thing, like at a much smaller scale, right? If you write out your tips on like an index card and you look at it again a day later, right? It kind of evokes the feelings, the rationale behind all of those sentences. So stuff like that. Just increase familiarity. Do not increase unfamiliarity. Do not do new things that are uncomfortable for you or just new to you. Okay, don't increase chaos. Okay. And then, are we doing book reading anytime soon, dude? I am just so overwhelmed right now with the course, but we'll see. Right now, I'm in a situation where I'm going to be making hires, hopefully very soon for developer hire. By the way, if anyone here wants to work on something fucking cool that has long-term repercussions for the reading of the generations of your generation, the generations below you, like, let me know. I need a full stack developer right now, but and AI native would probably be good because of just that's the way the world is going. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna be really, really busy. I want to do book reading. I don't know if I'm gonna be the one directly doing the book reading, but I do want to bring that back into the program. I'm just so overwhelmed right now. Like I'm on like a 3-day crash cycle because I work like manically, and then I get exhausted and I lose sleep and then I crash. It's awful right now. Strawberry Milk, if you take another test in August and your mode score for practice are 1300, yes, you can, but you have to study smart. Like the way that you're studying has to be intelligent. You can't just like dumbly just burn through like 1,000 questions or 20 practice tests. Like you can, and it will improve. Obviously, just practice will improve, but that is a big jump. A 200-point jump is a big jump. So you probably it doesn't have to be paid per se. Paying could make things easier, but that review has to be really intelligent, and the way that you're studying has to be really intelligent if you want to guarantee it in the next 2.5 months. Morbid says 660, 770. I don't fully understand that question. Danny says, what tip do I have reading on a tiny screen? You took practice test 7 yesterday. This is something that I actually didn't really cover recently. It's a little late, to be honest, but maybe, I mean, it's like 9:30 p.m. right in the East Coast. Device choice, try the Bluebook app on your tablet. If you have a tablet, try the Bluebook app on your laptop. If your school forces you to use a Chromebook, then you have no choice. But regardless, get a device. try out different devices and try out Blue Book on those different devices and see what feels more comfortable. And then remember, and if you haven't done it yet, okay, go into the Blue Book. In fact, I'll do it right now real quick. Here, let me actually, let me switch the app first. I'm gonna log into my Blue Book app real quick. And this is gonna be basically the last question. I gotta go now, I'm kinda late. Okay, so right now I'm gonna click on the leftmost button. What's the leftmost button? That's test preview. Okay, now I'm in test preview. What? Is it broken? Oh. It's broken. Oh, okay, wait, well, oh, that was interesting. So, test preview, guys, I think you literally might not know, but you can like zoom in and stuff. Like these are things that if you've just never pressed, okay, you wouldn't know, right? But make sure you press everything that is pressable. Like know every interaction you can do. So press everything. Okay? Press the button. Press the button. Press every button. So there's this and this and this, you know, obviously, you know, like figure out everything that you could do, okay? You can obviously hide the timer. I actually don't recommend hiding the timer, but if that's what you've been doing and it makes you comfortable, just stick with it. Don't change anything radically tomorrow, okay? Stick with what you're comfortable with, but just press everything and know how it works and just get used to the interface as much as possible. And press the correct answer as well. Okay. The shortcuts were quite ludicrous last time that I checked. I hope the shortcuts are more reasonable this time. But yes, keyboard shortcuts are also a thing. So I really do not encourage you to add chaos tomorrow. I want you to not add in new variables. So if you are literally memorizing shortcuts right now for tomorrow, I think that's a little risky because you know your body's not going to be fully used to it yet. So I don't recommend it. Maybe for August, but you know. At the end of the day, it is your decision. But you've been warned, okay? Don't radically change things. It's only going to make you more likely to panic because it creates new variables that you're unfamiliar with, okay? So try to lock in on everything that gives you comfort and security and confidence and good feelings, right? Just tap into that, okay? I believe in you. You can do it. Tomorrow is yours. There's a possibility where you get what you want, and there's a possibility where you don't get what you want. I want you to make the first possibility the reality. Good luck tomorrow. Love you guys. See you in the next one.